And happy Halloween, everybody. I'm Sam Carrico. I am joined by John Leon and Alex McKellar. Welcome, guys. How are you two on this fine Hallows Eve?
Doing good.
Yeah, man. Chilling.
It's
getting ready for spooky time.
It's almost
invigorated by the dosage of Batman.
Okay. We were just talking about this. This is going to be one of the best live streams we've done, probably, because we're talking about one of the best movies we've talked about, probably on the Film Fan Club show. The animated Halloween 2005 classic, The Batman versus Dracula. Were you guys familiar with this as kids?
No.
You guys never watched this until recently for this live stream?
Yeah.
I was 14 in 2005. I did not know about this.
I loved this in 2005. Oh, it was amazing. Did you guys watch? I guess I should ask. Did you watch the Batman that series at all? Like the Batman?
I think I remember catching a couple episodes on TV when it was on, but I never watched it.
Okay. I actually really enjoyed the Batman. I thought it was it tried to be modern with its take on Batman. It wasn't like the Batman the animated series, because it felt felt like it was set in the 30s, 40s, you know. And these ones, it had Batman with high-tech gadgets and stuff. The Joker, as you saw in this movie, he has dreads and looks crazier and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, but so obviously I did grow up watching this movie, this animated movie. It was always on Cartoon Network around Halloween time. And so whenever we were looking, it was between this and Batman the Long Halloween. And I'm sure everybody's like, oh, you guys should have definitely watched Batman the Long Halloween instead. But whenever I was rewatching this, I was like, all the memories started coming back. So I was like, oh, we got to talk about this for the live stream. But so let's just jump right in, right? My first point that I have written down is the opening credits, of course. I had to make a note of the opening credits. They play it so serious. Did you guys notice this? The opening titles are super it feels like an old-timey horror movie. It's
yeah.
It felt like it.
I immediately was trying to think of how I could relate it to Zack Snyder and title cards. But I did enjoy I did enjoy. No, I thought from the opening credits, I was like, "Oh, cool! This is neat." The nice, very gothic, the flashing lights. You can't really see all of the text until the very, the title comes full into view. I was like, "This is cool. I like this."
It's so schlocky. I think it's so fun. And then we immediately go to Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum is one of my favorite things, and I think in this show they have a kind of interesting portrayal of it. Did you guys notice the people who work there? They have the big gloves on, the really long suits, and then the goggles, and then of course we get the Breakout, the Penguin, the Joker. There's a guy that's in Arkham. He said, hey, it was either $30 or 30 years in the federal prison or pretend to be crazy, get 10 years in Arkham. What did you guys think of Arkham Asylum and our Breakout scene and that kind of? I thought that was an interesting detail. The guy was pretending to be crazy. John, what do you think?
I thought it was cool that one of the guards at Arkham was just slapping a baton into his hand constantly, just perpetually threatening all of the violently insane people in Arkham.
Intimidating crazy people.
I like that they were playing bingo and Penguin was super into it. I like that Penguin can box. That was cool.
Yeah.
He does some good combat moves.
Threw down in this. I was like, oh my gosh.
And later his little umbrella sword can cut through solid chain. So I don't know how Batman ever beats him.
Alex, Arkham Asylum, one of my favorites. Did you like the portrayal here?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was for, real quick, just touching on one of the staples of the Batman lore, it was cool. It wasn't, probably the best portrayal of Arkham Asylum is when you get to play it in the Batman games, when you're sneaking through and all that crazy stuff. But as far as just all right, we're going to hit the highlights of the Batman world, this one was cool. And it, they did have some of that interesting stuff, like you mentioned, with the security guards, and just the silliness of them having a bingo night for crazy people was, it was a good little touch.
It was an interesting build-up, I think, to the Joker when he's like, "Oh," when the guy who's pretending to be crazy and wants to break out with the Penguin, he's like, "Oh, you seem way more sane than that other guy." And then I liked the the fear you can kind of see in Penguin. He's like, oh no, you didn't tell him, did you? And then we're like, oh fuck yeah, it's the Joker. But I kind of hinted at while I was talking about why I like this series and how it's different from other Batman portrayals. But you guys already hinted at, the characterization of the Penguin in this universe. But what did you guys make of, this series take on the Joker and also Penguin? Alex?
I mean, I was confused why he looked all crazy. I didn't know if there was if it was just the artist edition, if there was a in-universe reason why he looked like a green Super Saiyan as opposed to other portrayals of him. But I didn't, other than that, he was fine. It's without getting too much into spoilers or whatever,
we're
I
gonna
wish he
spoil
had
the whole
been,
movie.
yeah,
It's fine.
I was I wish he had been sort of a bigger part in this movie, but at the same time, it's I enjoyed, the little bits we had with him, his little goofs, his little, asides, his Joker moments. There's a part which is potentially really horrific, which made me confused what age group this movie is for. The Joker as a vampire is going to bathe in blood. You don't see it
Yes.
that, but then you're wait, holy cow. If I saw this for real, that would be horrifying.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it was not my favorite Joker, but not a terrible Joker for sure.
This seemed to me as a prototype version of what we got with Heath Ledger. A little bit more rough around the edges, the longer hair, more leaning into the insane kind of part. John, obviously we'll get into a little bit more Vampire Joker later, but just this series basic take on the Joker and Penguin. You mentioned, or one of you guys mentioned, that the Penguin is way more, agile in this. What do you think of our villains and how they're portrayed here?
I think that there's, I think, you know what? I'm abandoning the bit, Alex.
Yeah, I was Sam loves it. I couldn't do it.
I think it's so good.
I think that there was a lot of cool potential. The Penguin was really interesting to me, and the Joker was really interesting to me as core concepts. But then the Penguin would make a joke about pissing his pants, or the Joker would make a joke about the blood tasting like aged red wine. And it made me think, who is this for? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that. There's I'm skipping ahead, but there's a scene where the Penguin says, quote, "nice jugulars."
Yes.
And that's
nice
my favorite
jugulars
thing in the world. I mean, okay. I don't have the clip in front of me. I could probably find it. I'm not going to. But go back to Batman Returns, Danny DeVito playing the Penguin. There's so many scenes where he makes crass comments. So this kind of felt kind of in line for me for the Penguin. I don't know.
Also, right after probably the best joke in the whole movie, where Dracula's staring at the TV, and the Penguin's like, "Oh, you like it? It's a plasma screen. Get it? Like blood?" And chef's kiss.
There's so much in that. Okay, so I guess I didn't take note of a lot of the so there's a lot of bad exposition, bad expository dialogue. It is a kids show. One of the things we'll jump to in later on is just how they explain Dracula being there. But firstly, what is their plan though at the beginning? So they're trying to escape. The Joker does not eventually make it because he's fighting Batman, and the Joker falls like a dumbass and gets electrocuted. And they make a very clear point to show the Joker. It's they make a very clear point to show the Joker has died. It seems.
Oh yeah.
Very clear. So what? And then, so what was their plan? And then, the Penguin ends up stumbling upon Dracula. What was their goal at the beginning? The Joker and Penguin. I get they wanted to escape Arkham.
Yeah. So
what was the plan?
They were looking
the guy
for the gold
in Arkham told both Penguin and Joker, where the gold was, or roughly where the gold was.
He said where the coffin was, that there was a bunch of gold there.
He said
it's in the cemetery behind the cross.
White cross. But then the Penguin gets there, and it turns out there's crosses everywhere. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he just says he says the north section behind the cross, and then the Penguin gets there, and he's like, "Aha!" And then he looks around, and the cross is literally everywhere, and he's like, "Ah, man!" And then he just happens to find Dracula's tomb. The only one without an actual cross on it.
It also had the craziest door. the door was like overgrown and it had like a demon face on it, and Penguin was just like, well, that must be where the money is.
Right. He's like, classic. It's got to be down here. Yeah.
And then Penguin goes down there, cuts himself. There's all these skeletons everywhere. Even like Dracula's skeleton looks kind of grotesque. And then the Joker, of course, with his electrocution death. Like, I'm like, this is a kid's show. I thought that was fascinating. And then, of course, Dracula gets resurrected. How does it? That I guess my question is the logistics of Dracula getting resurrected. Whatever. But there was also a clear. John, did you finish the Midnight Mass?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen Midnight Mass yet. Okay, it's so good. You should watch it. But I guess I had similar questions about that show. Whereas, at what point are you killed by a vampire versus just turned into like a temporary vampire? You know what I mean?
Because they talk about that in this movie.
That's what I guess I need clarification.
Penguin's like, they're dead, and Dracula's undead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not even that though. Batman talks to Alfred and he says, "Did you guys even watch this movie? Like what?" No. Batman talks to Alfred and he says, "Nobody's turned up drained of blood yet. That means he hasn't killed anyone. He's just turning them." Yeah.
Right.
But like they go over that bit of the lore. Like Dracula even says, he's like, "Oh, I hate to waste, a life when I could turn them into a slave."
I understand that, but like I don't understand how Dracula is sustaining him. Does he just takes a little sip and that turns him into vampires but doesn't kill them? Or
well, Sam, the point is that nobody dies in the movie, so they can air it for children. So they have to go out of their way to be like
really bad boo-boos.
And it's very convenient too. They're like, "Oh, would you look at that? It also wipes your memory of being."
That was beautiful.
Because there was like, I'm like, there's this whole subplot where Batman is now being framed for Dracula's crimes, and it just goes away at the end. And I like had to catch my eyes because I wrote extensive notes, and I was like, how does this happen? How does this resolve itself? I'm like, oh yeah, they explain it. It's like the ending of Fantastic Beasts where they just.
But Amnesia doesn't even explain it though. Amnesia explains why the hostages don't remember what happened.
Oh, you're right.
But the people reporting the news don't forget what happened.
Then what's
they
that?
just. A homeless guy said,
on Penguin.
Right.
And then they changed Batman's status from villain back to vigilante. It is
just like the newspaper headline asked.
Yeah.
It's so confusing. The logic here is just weird. And then obviously we hinted at, but Dracula's silly fucking bullshit story for his grave being in Gotham City. Like
he just remembers.
He remembers when he was dead. He's like, oh yeah, they must have moved my coffin after I died. And then,
that's what I think is crazy. He doesn't remember. He just goes, "Oh, I'm in Gotham now. This must be what happened." And then we see it as if it's happening. So really, we don't even know if that's true. That's just what Dracula is supposing.
And the people who hated him and shipped him away were nice enough to send him in his own coffin, where he stored his wife's ashes.
Right.
So that was
kind.
That was polite.
I mean, you don't want to separate the evil blood-sucking monster from his wife's ashes,
It's true, yeah. It would be rude. They're like, nah, Gotham gets the whole problem.
I could just see the person who knows about exactly what's in that coffin. He's like, I'm not even dealing with any of that. You guys can have it. We meet Vicki Vale in this, and I was trying to do some deep dive research. I couldn't find. I don't think Vicki Vale was a character in the show before this movie, so they introduced her in this movie as a love interest for Bruce Wayne. I thought it was really interesting. She's got some severe "I can fix him" issues with it, because there's a scene, isn't there, where she's going through the files of Bruce Wayne, and she's like, "Oh, you need help, don't you?"
She literally says, "The
when are you gonna let someone save you?" And touches the screen. I was like, into my veins. Come on, movie.
It's beautiful. It's chef's kiss. In case you weren't clear, she wants to fix him. Did we like Vicki Vale? What did we think?
I mean, anytime you do that sort of relationship where the whole point is that the superhero's secret life is getting in the way of his ability to actually emotionally connect with people, and then you play it up even more so by having Vicki talk about, oh, his parents' death must have made it very hard for him to let people close, and then Alfred being like, you've been very patient, Mom. It's so lazy. It's so lazy. You could do it in a way that was good, especially if it was just juxtaposed with a physical conflict that sort of like counterweighted it narratively. But this movie doesn't even try any of that. They're just like, yeah, Vicki Vale wants to have sex with Bruce. Bruce wants to have sex with her. But, they can't really get together because he keeps getting called away to do Batman shit, which is apparently staring at a computer screen while his computer figures out how to cure vampirism.
Yeah. It's just beautiful.
My big problem with Vicki Vale in this movie is that she's not 1989 Kim Basinger. I think that would have fixed it if she was 1989 Kim Basinger.
Just a real life actress randomly in this cartoon.
Well, she was in Vicki Vale. When I think of Vicki Vale, because I'm not a comics guy, my introduction to her was in the 1989 Batman movie, played by Kim Basinger. And so I'm like, anytime I see a new version of that, it's not like James Bond or Bruce Wayne, where I can change my appearance, or like in her appearance in my head. I'm like, it's I don't know. It just feels weird. They're interpreting. I'm like, no, this is like a 14-year-old animated person that they're trying to get to be Vicki Vale. It doesn't make any sense. Another pet peeve of mine. This is a very small thing. There's a scene where Bruce is like, where's your cameraman? And she's like, I gave him the day off. A reporter can't give her cameraman the day off. That's not how the hierarchy works.
Hang on. If
That's
I had ever been
to a porno.
If I'd ever been working with a reporter and they'd been like, hey, I'm actually going to use this interview to go on a date with a rich dude, you can take the night off. I'd be like, sure. I don't give a shit if my boss okays it.
I'm going home.
If my boss calls me and says, hey, you got to go to this breaking news, my answer is going to be, well, I can't because my reporter is on a date with Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. I guess he is like really rich, so the station that she works for probably would like see the long-term benefits of that.
Yeah, of course. You gotta make your rich people happy.
You gotta grease the wheels a little bit.
Especially if they invest in renewable energy.
Is that
the one thing Bruce says that
actual sunlight to reproduce it as sunlight. Oh,
So have you guys seen those little desk things they get where that you put on your desk and it's like daylight that just shines on you, so that way it's just like it's good for you or something like that.
Like the little UV lights you can get or whatever.
Yeah, there's a little something you put on your desk, and I guess it's like supposed to like be good, so you don't have like it's not jarring when you go outside or something. I don't know the benefits of it, but one of my coworkers used to have one, and I'm like, could we just not get a bunch of could we not just get a bunch of those and then just hold them up to like Dracula's face?
Bro, those are invented after 2005.
Okay. That's the funny thing. It reminds me of like somebody on the internet shared a video of like this big robot can watch this big robot paint this giant canvas, and then someone's like, "Congratulations, you invented a printer." And then it's kind of is like what Bruce Wayne's big, because the big crux of this plot is like he's working really hard on this solar machine, and I'm like, you can get that for your desk nowadays. It's so crazy. So anyways,
we didn't even see him working on it, really.
Yeah.
There's one setup scene.
It's just announced so that he can kill Dracula at the end.
It's literally set up payoff. It's set up just as much as the voice thing is in Dune, which is to say not very much. Fuck Dune.
Fuck you, Sam.
Batman gets attacked. So Batman gets attacked by a bunch of these are 2 points, I guess, that kind of go together. Batman gets attacked by a bunch of vampires in the middle of Gotham City. And my second point, I guess part of that first point, he would be so dead. There's no way he survives that encounter, except that he's Batman. He's the main character of the story.
Yeah,
and they're thralls. They're not Dracula.
It's a thrall.
A thrall is like a person in service to a vampire.
Well, he gets
Listen, I watched the whole movie where Batman beat Superman, so I think he can take on
way more realistic than him taking on a vampire. But like he was like covered in them at one point. And oh shit, hang on, let me fix my camera. He was like covered in them at one point, and then I was like, how is he? Fuck! I knew this would happen.
He was covered in them. He was covered in them in the end when he went to go like stop Dracula, right?
Yes.
Or are you talking about the scene where he's fighting just the 3 of them on the street?
Yeah, the scene where he's fighting 3 of them on the street, he's like, I feel like any one of them could have bit them. He would have definitely like been done for.
He would have been a vampire.
Yeah, I mean,
like I'm just saying he shouldn't have survived that encounter. And then I had another second point.
Movie 15 minutes long, baby.
Just saying, the Batman
Let's
versus
make
Dracula
a movie where Batman's opponent is the Lord of the Night, the mythological end-all, be-all villain of human terror. And yeah, Batman should be dead.
He probably should have died. My point being, it was the movie, the Batman versus Dracula. I'm beginning to think wasn't the most realistic thing in the world. My second point was, let's talk about containing a zombie or a vampire outbreak, shall we? They make a big point out of how there we go. All right, they make a big point out of how, like, at least in Midnight Mass, that if any of the vampires in Midnight Mass escape, then the whole world could be at stake, right? How is that not the case for this, right? How are they not like just like killing how is there not a bigger vampire problem in Gotham City? How is there just like a couple dozen?
Because it's only been like 2 days.
That's a long time. Think of how fast they
can only go out at night. That's like the biggest thing. So technically, they've only had 24 hours to try to do anything.
They can only prey on street punks, night security guards, and women who missed the last subway train. That's their entire pool of victims. So, you know,
they're all technically under control of Dracula.
But Dracula,
and so
Bruce Wayne should be dead, Batman should be dead, and the whole town should be overrun with vampires at this point. I'm just saying. I love the movie. First of all, I love
I love this movie.
First of all, I love this film. But
yeah, we have the world's greatest detective figuring out that Alucard is Dracula spelled backwards by writing it down.
Thank you for my next point.
Holding it up to a mirror.
The worst nickname. The worst alias of all time. He's like, my name's Alucard, and that should have been an immediate like, oh, okay, that's Dracula. I got you.
Yeah.
And he says it with like the European accent too, so I'm just like,
he says I'm Dr. Alucard. And then I was like, why
does this doctor too? Yes.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, well, but I was like, but Alucard is Dracula backwards, so why the doctor part? Because, you know, the Mitch Hedberg joke is don't go see Dr. Acula.
Yeah.
Which is a better joke than
Do you think in the first draft that's literally what it was? Like, my name is Dr. Acula.
The first time Alucard is Acula. The first time Alucard is used as an alias for Dracula is the 1943 Universal film Son of Dracula.
Ah, so it's paying an homage. Gotcha.
To a movie that nobody alive in 2005 has ever seen.
Especially the children.
That's a favorite of mine. Son of Dracula?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? So
these guys are real German expressionist fans.
Another thing is Bruce gets hypnotized, but shouldn't he stay hypnotized like the Penguin? Why is he just like it's just temporary?
So Bruce gets hypnotized and then he gets unhypnotized because Alfred talks to him, basically.
Was that set up for anything?
So I thought at the end of the movie, Penguin stumbles over the coffin that actually has the treasure in it.
Yeah.
And the treasure spills out while he's chasing Vicki Vale. I thought that the sight of the treasure was going to snap Penguin out of it, and that's what would save Vicki Vale. Because, like, maybe if something you care about presents itself to you, you can overcome Dracula's mind control. But then he keeps chasing Vicki Vale until Dracula dies, and then he snaps out of it and sees the treasure. So I don't know what the rules are for Dracula's mind control.
What are the rules? So
maybe Batman is just an iron will.
Yeah. Well, I think Dracula was gonna turn Bruce Wayne. Like, he hypnotized him to get him to go somewhere alone, but then as he went out there, Alfred came up, so he was like, oh crap, can't do this. I can't take 2 humans at once, that's too many. And so he goes and he gets the stoner hippie guy that Alfred hired to just be mean to as a waiter.
Snipe is his name, right?
Yeah, Stipes.
Sam, is Stipes in the cartoon? Is he like a recurring character?
No, he's not a recurring character.
They invented a waiter, named him just for Alfred to be a small business tyrant to him.
Yes.
Just to be like, tuck your fucking shirt in, you dumb peasant.
Yeah.
Basically.
Listen,
And then he gets turned into Dracula.
Is classy British, and this guy's stoner hippie.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna natural enemies. The same way that Batman and Dracula go head to head. Alfred and Stipe.
I would have loved a payoff, like another like setup payoff type of thing, where like, what if at the end, when Dracula is like lured to Wayne Manor, Stipes is there as a vampire. Some of his minions follow him, and like he like crosses paths with Alfred again, and they have to have like a little struggle, until
an actual fight.
Yeah, like that'd be kind of funny. Like I don't know if you guys remember the ending to Pirates of the Caribbean, the Curse of the Black Pearl, but in the end of Pirates of the Caribbean, the Curse of the Black Pearl, the Governor Swan, is like stuck in he's like stuck in the cabin of a ship with like a skeleton hand, and it's like a whole it's like while all the action is going on, it just keeps coming back to Governor Swan with like that little skeleton hand for a little comic relief.
He's trying to hold it in a drawer and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's just played for laughs to cut the tension, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have worked really well, and it would have been good setup payoff. He's like, and then also if like Alfred, it's funny if he just like, oh, I knew you were a bad one. That'd be good. I thought it'd be funny shit.
Also, Alfred is just throwing out a bunch of like blood-related puns in that whole dinner party. He tells the one guy to keep circulating, and he goes after Stipe. He says he's like, no, you don't even have a cheese tray. Now I'm out for blood. It's just like what is happening? They just like had a moment. They're like, all right, let's get in get it because there's blood.
I get it.
Vampires.
There's a moment even where the Joker in a different scene says, this time I'm out for blood or something, and I'm like, ooh. I already mentioned that. Oh yeah, there's no way a morning show reporter would be at a party that late. Also, because Vicki Vale is at the party that everybody is also at. Bruce says that Dracula hasn't killed anybody yet. We already touched on it. I still don't see how that's possible. Do you guys?
Because he's got control over how much blood he sucks. There's a difference between turning someone to a vampire and draining the juice box.
Now, hang on a second. Dracula explicitly says that the people that he turns are undead, which means they have died and come back to life. Right. They haven't been drained of blood, and they're not currently dead.
So he's operating from a medieval understanding of blood pathology. But Batman talks about it as a disease.
Batman has modern biological knowledge. I gotcha.
Yeah. Modern biological knowledge by looking in the old school medical library that his father collected for some reason. That's also in Wayne Manor.
And nobly donated to science or some shit.
Yeah, but it's still in their house.
Right.
The logic of Batman getting framed is really flimsy to me.
Bro, that's like classic Batman right there. Of course, a guy who does like Bat-related things. That was the one thing I wish this movie did more, was compare the lores of Dracula and
kind
Batman.
of a wasted opportunity there.
Yeah, like they do it a tiny amount, but then it just sort of goes nowhere to where it's like, okay, that may and Alfred is shocked when he's like, oh, they're blaming you for all of this? A bat-shaped creature is going around kidnapping people in Gotham? And they blame you, Batman?
I feel like it's something... Go ahead, John.
They do this thing at the end, right? Since we're going to spoil the whole thing.
Sure.
At the end, Batman turns on the sun machine, and the only reason why Dracula doesn't automatically die is because Batman's shadow provides him cover from the sun, right?
Right, yeah. Cool scene.
Which is really cool and really good metaphor, right? Of now Dracula is in the shadow of the bat, right?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That was good.
And it would have been cool if that had been the point of the movie. If the point of the movie was comparing Batman and Dracula and their different methodologies of applying bat themes to terror, could have been a really cool final conclusion. but because it's basically just played off as a couple one-off comments, it ends up just being like, oh yeah, that looks cool. Which is, it's cool. There's a lot of cool action visual stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
Some of the animation is really interesting and good, but it's just like without the emotional context of a functional story.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It leaves a little bit to be desired, I guess. There's a couple cool things though. The Batman and Dracula versus the cops in the warehouse. I thought this was kind of cool. Batman's on the run from the police, and he goes into a warehouse, and I don't think we know at the beginning of the scene that Dracula is also in the warehouse.
Yeah, we don't.
So we see all these cops getting taken out, like just in the shadows, and then we realize halfway through that it's Dracula that's doing it. I thought that was cool. Did you guys think anything else about that scene?
And
really. Oh, go ahead, John.
So there's a part. So we kind of get that Dracula is there. So at the beginning, we don't know Dracula's there. But then we see cops getting taken in two different ways, right? We see a shadow knock out a cop or lift a cop up into the air. But then later on, we see a really like super speed shadow zipping past and grabbing them and like crunching noises, right? Yeah. And so then we're like, oh, something else is here. And then we see that it's Dracula, and we hear Dracula take out a guard, and then Batman like stops and turns around to go check on the cops because he's like, oh, something's wrong. And he goes back to look at the cops, and then they see him and just start shooting at him again. I was like, that's good. That's nice right there. That was some quality.
Yeah. I love that it was all started by Batman going to the cemetery. I don't remember why he's going there now. A night watchman sees him, and he gets on the radio, and he's like, oh, I see the bat. I don't want to become a lost one. Hurry. And then the cops leave their police department, sirens blaring, and get the drop on Batman, who's apparently just been sitting on top of a tombstone for like 10 minutes while the cops show up and sneak in to the cemetery. World's greatest detective, baby. Does lead to a cool scene, but it was like, what? Batman gets spotted by a goofy night watchman and then gets the drop on him by a bunch of loud cops.
John, how are you on time? Should we speed run through these next couple points?
No, I'm good. The thing I had at 7 canceled.
Oh, okay. So, okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Then for a while. I just realized that Batman versus doesn't meet Dracula in this until halfway through, which is weird to me. He meets Alucard, as Bruce Wayne, but I do think it was a little bit weird that in Batman versus Dracula, you don't actually get that until halfway through. But it was a pretty cool scene. I think the design of Dracula when he doesn't look like a monster is kind of cool. I like the slits they add to his cape while he's running. Yeah. I think that's kind of cool. Did you guys anything particular about the design of Dracula, whether it be monster form or human form?
I thought it was good. Like you said, like that fight scene, the way, like, especially when it's the two silhouettes fighting and you see like Batman's cape moving. And then, Dracula's cape like comes out and it's almost like spider legs behind him. I was like, this is pretty cool. This is pretty rad.
And they do a lot of cool stuff with like the cape for both Batman and Dracula when they're standing still and the cape like flares out at the bottom. But for Dracula, his cape like merges into the shadows, I feel like. And so he feels a little bit more like of the night, right? I thought that was cool.
There's also some cool things where Batman laced his weapons with garlic, and he did that like it's one of the first things he did when he realized he was going to be fighting Dracula. And I'm like, I just like that. That's just a smart thing that you would do, right?
Yeah, I mean, once you see him react negatively to the garlic shrimp appetizer,
that was so on the nose. It was so funny.
I know the two perfect foods for a vampire at the dinner, but also like Batman laces parts of his blades with garlic, but he doesn't cover his suit in garlic.
What the
like
fuck?
He gets rescued by the sun coming up. It's not that like Dracula goes in to bite him and like he's like, oh, you covered your suit in garlic, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, that's both weird, but it saved you, so.
I smothered myself in garlic oil.
I do hate. I think there's like. At least this, there might be 2 instances of this. Because does Alfred save Batman later or something like that? But
Alfred shoots a crossbow full of.
That's it. Yeah. Well, Batman should have died. like twice, and then like he gets saved by sunlight and then Alfred, and I'm just like, I don't know, I like it better when Batman saves himself.
I kind of like, so for the Alfred one works, technically speaking, like as a concept, it works to have Alfred save Batman because, it's like the one actual relationship that Bruce Wayne has is important in order in maintaining his survival.
Sure.
But they executed it poorly by having Alfred magic a crossbow out of nowhere to shoot a syringe of medicine into Dracula's neck that they know won't work. And then when Dracula shrugs it off and just like backhands Alfred into a wall, they're surprised, Right. But then the sunlight one, yeah, it was like, of course, Dracula, you should know what time of night it is.
Yeah.
Why are you doing all of this anyway?
Yeah,
you can just rush in, incapacitate Batman, and drink his blood. You don't need his permission.
Yeah, he forgot about daylight savings time. He was thrown off.
That's the thing. He's like, oh, fuck, that's today? My favorite part or section of this movie, I guess, is the Joker returning. I think it's classic Joker. I just wish they hadn't shown him so thoroughly dying. Like it's like I guess I watched a YouTube video recently about Halloween. And I guess Halloween 2, are you guys familiar with Halloween 2 from 1981? I guess it pretty clearly shows Michael Myers dying. Like it's not like ambiguous. Like he dies like pretty definitively, and that's what they do here. That's what they do here with the Joker. Like they show him dying definitively, and I just always prefer it whenever it's like ambiguous, and then he comes.
You never see the Joker's body frying.
That's so dumb. And then he comes back.
And he says a fisherman caught him in his net, and the electroshock therapy was.
Why explain it at all?
I mean, why have him die?
Well, no.
Just have him get put in Arkham or get his legs broken, and he has to escape again to go find the treasure.
Yeah,
why does he need to die except for Batman to be like, I lost Joker. I won't lose anybody else.
And you texted me about that. I'm surprised I didn't write a note about that. It's so weird the amount of remorse that Batman shows over the Joker's like his own accidental death. Like
that's like a key part of Batman's character is overly melodramatic self-guilt.
But like for the Joker, I don't know. In this particular,
especially for the Joker, that's like his number one guy.
No, I understand. Like in the Batman mythos, I just guess in this particular instance, the Joker, it was clearly his own fault that he died, and like for the Batman to be like, "Oh, damn, I could have saved him." I'm just like, no, I don't know. It was just silly. I like that the Joker comes back and he's like, "Yeah, I came back from the dead," and the Penguin goes, "Yeah, a lot of that going around," and I thought that was a laugh out loud moment. And then Joker just stumbles onto Dracula like a dumbass. I thought that was
because he's looking for the treasure, and then Penguin is guarding this crypt, and so Joker's like, "Oh, the treasure must be in here." And then instead of just being like, "Oh no, Joker, actually it's Dracula, and you don't want to go in there because he'll turn you into a thrall and drink your blood," and he's just like, "No, there's nothing in this tomb," and and then runs away.
And then when Joker climbs in, he's like, "Oh, breakfast in bed, fresh squeezed."
Fresh squeezed. Oh, so good. But Vampire Joker is a great concept. Do you guys think so?
It could be super cool.
And it was utterly wasted by this movie.
I like the fight scene at the blood bank.
I thought it was really cool. Cool horror vibes is what I have written down. There's a scene where like it's following Batman, like it's like down a hall, and you can see like test tubes like as the camera passes, and on the reflection of the test tubes you can see the Joker's grin. And he's a vampire. Well shot. It's an animated film, but it's well shot, and presented. And I think it was really, I don't know, I thought it was cool. So it sounds like John is more into the Vampire Joker in this film than you were, Alex.
Oh, I liked it, but I don't know. I kept wanting a better movie in my head. I either wanted the Joker to not be like mentally controlled because he's crazy, and like the Joker actually has some like menacing presence in this movie, other than just every now and then being zany and like a little more scary as a vampire because he's the Joker.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I was like, oh man, it'd be cool if like the Joker wasn't able to be mind controlled by Dracula, and then like he ends up taking over more of Gotham, and then like Dracula and Batman have to team up to now stop this like worse version of the whole thing. Like that's, I just kept thinking about this.
I have two ideas. Have you guys played Batman Arkham City?
Yeah.
So at the end of Batman Arkham City, after they deal with the Arkham City problem, the Joker's subplot throughout that game has spiraled into its own problem that Batman then has to go solve. It'd be great, Alex, if what you're talking about pays off, where he does become a vampire. But then it spirals off into its own problem to where Batman does defeat Dracula, but then there's the surprise, extra climax where he's got to go defeat the Joker next. Alternatively, what if we just remove the whole penguin element of it altogether, have Joker become a vampire much earlier, and have him be a servant of Dracula throughout, so he can still be in more scenes as Vampire Joker, and, I don't know, replace Penguin, who I thought was kind of lame.
I feel like if you're going to have Joker vampire, it should really embrace the chaotic, violent sort of nature of both of those character identities merging. And if you just took out the Penguin and were like, now the Joker is Dracula's alarm clock, no. But I do think it would have been super cool if the Joker had been a more important part of the narrative, as opposed to just being like a side fight that happens.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It amounts to a tool for Batman to get vampire blood into his hands to create the cure for the end of the movie, and with a cool fight scene along the way. But just like what you talked about, Alex, I think would have been a lot better. What else do I have? The irony of the future of humanity being contingent on Batman saving Joker. Oh yeah, that's just funny. I think the fact that he's got to save the Joker's life, or else all of humanity dies, because the Joker's
missed that dinner with Vicki Vale. Oh, romance. Will it work out?
She could fix him.
That whole sequence could have been so much better. Oh my god, I figured out in my head how to do that sequence correctly.
Which one?
The sequence where he misses the dinner.
Okay, how?
You have Joker captive, Batman and Alfred in the Batcave, and Vicki Vale shows up, and Joker goes, I'm so hungry, I need blood. And Batman goes, Alfred, tell Vicki I'm running late. And his idea is, I'm just going to draw some blood, feed the Joker, and go to dinner, right? But then he draws the blood, and he feeds Joker, and learns some stuff about how Dracula's actually possessing the Joker. And then he sees that his computer is still on, and he goes to turn it off. But while he's going to turn it off, he notices something, right? Because the science and the specifics of how Batman cures vampirism are never explained anyway, so who gives a shit how?
There's gunk on the blood, John. There's gray goo on the blood, and you got to figure out how to get the gray goo off.
And it's something about DNA sequences in there that he's splicing, and exposure to sunlight and all that shit. It doesn't matter. All you do is he's about to turn off the computer, and he goes, oh, wait. And he notices it. And he gets down to solve the problem and cure vampirism. And he gets absorbed into the task. And then it cuts back to the dinner with the Vicki Vale Alfred thing. Mm-hmm. And she's like, it's been 30 minutes, Alfred. I think I'm going to dip. And then she can have a line where she mentions, how his parents passing must have hurt him or whatever. Fine, you can leave that shit in there. And she leaves. And then Alfred goes, and then it cuts back to the Batcave, and we see Batman complete the cure, right? He solves it. He cures Joker. And then Alfred comes in and says, well, at least one good thing came from this evening. And then it shows that Batman standing up his date actually was for something. Because instead what we see is Batman tapping his fingers, staring at a completely still computer screen. And then we cut to Vicki Vale leaving at 8:45. I don't know what time their dinner was supposed to be.
The way it's edited together, it seems like, all right, so Vicki showed up, Batman was like, all right, I got to finish giving blood. And then they're upstairs, and Vicki's like, he's not coming, is he? And it feels like it's been 5 minutes, and it's like, damn, all right, cool.
It doesn't zoom in on the clock.
You're not wrong. Yeah, but
It explicitly shows us that it's like 9 o'clock.
I just think that I guess it's okay that the show doesn't like show that there's anything productive that comes from Bruce's, because I think Bruce's behavior is kind of like detrimental to himself, and I think it's okay to show that and not have it be like, oh, it's worth it though, because it's like, I don't know, I don't want to endorse Bruce being a workaholic by saying, oh, it'll work out if you just if you ignore your date, you can get good things out of it.
But it is already though. Like he already.
Yeah, it's kind of a criticism of, well, I don't know. I take it as a criticism of Bruce's personality.
But he already, so I think that it is a criticism of his personality.
Right.
And I think that it should be, but I think that if you did it a little bit more intentionally and showed why he's making those choices, not necessarily saying they're the right choices, but you show that he's getting something out of not engaging in that relationship that he clearly wants to have. And then you go, oh, it's tragic, but he is stopping Dracula. And instead what happens is that he stands her up for no reason, still solves Dracula, and she still cares about him and talks, and Alfred says she still talks very highly of you. So he still gets everything.
Yeah.
We just don't see that it comes at the cost of anything.
So he's still with Vicki at the end of this?
Yeah, she leaves the house, and then Alfred comes in and says she still speaks very highly of you, and then she gets kidnapped by Dracula.
Rescues her, and then of course it's okay because he rescued her. So.
Right.
Oh, exactly. No, did she even learn his identity as Batman?
No, she just sees
she doesn't, yeah. So she thinks that Bruce is still a dick.
I think
potentially
she thinks
open-ended. Yeah, she looks
My
like
headcanon is that she knows.
I only saw bats. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I think it'd be funny if one thing I liked about Batman Forever is that there is a dynamic where the girl in that movie, what was her name? Nicole Kidman, who I can't remember what her character's name was. She is like super interested in Batman, but like she's dating Bruce Wayne. She's like casually interested, but she like really has the hots for Batman. I think that'd be kind of funny if they did that for. Is that also a Spider-Man trope as well?
Yeah,
I guess.
it's a classic superhero trope.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny. Like it'd be like, could you imagine dating a girl and then she's just kind of like casually into you, and then she's also really into you but not into you? It's just weird. It's what kind of hijinks would you get into? Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like there's a scene where he ignores Vicki Vale's call for help. I think it was hilarious.
He's not even doing anything.
He's just like, sorry, I can't answer this right now, Vicki.
Sorry, Vicki. I've got other things to do tonight. Oh no, you're actually dying.
He's literally just watching his machine pump out cure ammo.
Yeah.
He's standing next to the machine that is operating on its own, and the call comes in, and he's just like, can't talk to you right now.
He's like, no, I cannot have a 30-second call with you. It felt like super, like, just ham-fisted setup for her to be kidnapped later. And then...
For sure.
It's 100%... Dracula doesn't even want Vicki Vale.
That was annoying to me too. Okay, so that's my next point. The whole, I for like 2/3 of this film, I get the sense that Dracula is weirdly becoming infatuated with Vicki Vale, kind of like the Joker in the 1989 Batman film. And
he talks about how her name is enticing,
right.
And
he's into her, Vicki Vale.
Yeah.
Like he wants to make her the new Mrs. Dracula. And then it turns out literally, no, he wants to resurrect his old wife. And did that feel tacked on to you guys?
Yeah, for sure. It feels like they just kept like changing what they were writing. They were like, well, if he wants to turn her into the new wife, he would just bite her. We've already shown that takes 2 seconds, and then they're a slave. So we got to do something that gives it like a ticking clock for Batman to deal with.
Right.
So Alfred will find this wife that was even crazier than Dracula. And then Dracula's like, oh, Penguin, you idiots. When I was attracted to her earlier, that's before we had finished the script.
Yeah. Wow, it felt so weird.
It was like, and then I thought, at first I was like, okay, maybe there's something special about Vicki Vale's soul.
Yeah.
Maybe she's like the spiritual reincarnation or something.
It's kind of like
his
Haunted.
wife.
Do you guys remember Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy? I think in that movie, Eddie Murphy's wife is like the descendant of like the ghost of.
I was thinking Bram Stoker's Dracula, but
No,
we can go Haunted Mansion.
I mean, it's
No,
another one of those
2003
things. It's a classic trope of
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
her spirit is important, or
Yeah,
she's the
only her.
descendant of, or her
Yeah.
bloodline is, but then
There's nothing.
as
in
soon
this
as
movie about
Batman
that, though.
saves her from getting, so Batman grabs her, and his wife's spirit goes back into her ashes or whatever,
Right.
and Dracula immediately is like, well, if my wife can't have your soul, I'll drink your blood. And it's like, okay, so you don't need her specifically then.
No, yeah.
Because you're down to just kill her instead of just killing Batman and doing the
Then wait
experiment
10 seconds
again.
later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, the Dracula can fly suddenly. I have written down with a question mark. Could he fly throughout this whole thing until before the very end, or is that just? I feel like at the very end he starts flying, and
I think he could fly, but we don't like see him
like,
fly.
floating.
He like zips across open space to like cut Batman's little tether ropes one time.
Yeah.
And I think there's another time Batman throws a grenade that has garlic smoke in it, and Dracula puts out his cape and flies backwards to another table.
And running fast, I get, because that's kind of, I guess, those are common vampire things. But he literally just starts floating, I think, at the very end of this.
Yeah. He 100% has the power of flight at the end.
Yeah, like the Baron in what's that movie that I didn't like? Yeah,
Baron Munchausen.
Stellan Skarsgård in the rhino-looking dude in Dune. Yeah,
he's got a snake body. That's what I thought for a while, and then he was like floated.
Is he floating or is he just turning big? I can't remember.
He's
floating. Yeah, he can fly.
He just has a really long black cape, and so it looks like a weird snake sleeve.
I know. I was like, and then later you see him and his little pointless feet are floating there, and you're like, oh, okay, he can fly.
The character design in Dune was really cool. I liked that. And then I have Batman leads Dracula all the way back to the Batcave, which must have taken a while, right? It's like a lot of, I feel like
it's not established how far away Wayne Manor is from the graveyard.
It's just very lucky, I guess. It's very lucky that they happen to be like right next door. And I have the Chad Batman defeats the Virgin Dracula with the new solar machine. I thought that was a cool shot, I think. Oh yeah, there's a cool shot where Batman does this little cape thing. He does his little show-offy little cape thing, and it creates
he outbats Dracula, and we're like, oh dang, he's got such BDE right now. Yeah. He's just cucking Dracula hardcore.
100%. Yeah, exactly. The Chad. I feel like you could draw that meme and make it the Chad Dracula or the Chad Batman versus the Virgin Dracula, and it would fit perfectly. The entire town, though, like we established earlier, forgets. I guess not the entire town, but a big portion of the town forgets.
Just the victims.
Yeah, the victims don't remember what happened.
The lost ones lose their memory.
So the
branding of the lost ones.
If I'm a person,
everyone bought in.
Well, no, because how did they explain Dracula not being exposed? Because Penguin gets blamed. How does Penguin get blamed?
So Penguin's there and finds the treasure, and then the news reporter guy's like, turns out it wasn't Batman. It was the Penguin kidnapping people in some grand scheme to find this treasure. Mm-hmm. He'll be shipped off back. Yeah, and they're like, we'll change Batman's status from villain back to vigilante.
And the reporter explicitly says details are still forthcoming, which means they don't have any idea what's actually happening. They're just like, there's a bunch of treasure, Penguin's in a graveyard with a bunch of amnesiac hostages. Penguin must have been doing something crazy and Batman stopped him.
Which isn't out of the realm of possibility, but if I'm Penguin's lawyer, I'm going to have a heyday with that, is all I'm saying.
It really points to a fundamental flaw in Gotham's journalist career field. One guy on the street is like, I saw a bat at a crime scene, and they're like, oh, Batman's killing people now.
I think that's
the only explanation. But that happens. That happens in every other Batman story, though. One random vagrant sees a scary bat-looking thing, and it's like, no, it's Batman, he's cracked.
That's why
we
I feel
used to think this guy was good. Now
they do it with they do that with Man-Bat a lot. I'm pretty sure if there's like there's been animated episodes of shows where they like have Man-Bat as like the villain, and they're like, oh, are we sure it's not Batman,
right,
or whatever? And yeah, I don't know. It's a common trope. I think that this. So let's get final thoughts on the Batman versus Dracula.
Wait. We're not going to talk about the blood bank pun?
Oh, yeah.
There's a pun with a blood bank?
Yeah. Batman goes, there's a break-in at the bank. And Alfred goes, considering we have more apocalyptic stuff to worry about, maybe you could let the police handle it? And Batman goes, it's the blood bank. And Alfred goes...
Is that how it ends?
Alfred's just getting spooked left, right, and center in this movie, and it's great. He sees Alucard written backwards as Dracula, and he's like...
The news says Batman is kidnapping people, and he does a spit take.
Yeah, he pours the tea in his fancy gloves into a little cup, and then he starts drinking it. Like he got all fancied up to pour tea for himself.
Is that literally how it ends though? Does it end on a cliffhanger where he's like, where Batman runs off to solve a...
No. That's the Joker is breaking into the blood bank.
Okay. I was like, what a fun cliffhanger. I'm like, oh my God.
That would be fun. John, you fixed the movie again. We haven't cured all the vamps.
Well, I love at the end of Batman Arkham Asylum, the video game, it ends, he solved the Arkham Asylum thing, and they're like, there's a break-in at the Gotham Second National Bank, and it's like, the adventure continues for Batman, and it'd be like that kind of ending, but then, with a twist, like, okay, you can handle, you don't need to go to the bank, do you, Bruce? And he's like, it's the blood bank, or the end, question mark?
Yeah, that would have been a much better movie.
I'm just saying.
10 bags.
It's almost like you could make any number of changes to this movie and it would be better.
Yeah.
I think we found...
True.
Yeah, I maintain that. I think, making the Joker, that stuff that we talked about with the Joker would have been a huge improvement on the film. And then, or even a combination of the two. Maybe for the first half, he's serving Dracula, and then it spirals into its own issue. I don't know. It would have been cool. But yeah, let's do final thoughts. I'll do final thoughts last, though. John, and then Alex. John first. What did you think?
So I think that there were some cool parts to this movie that were absolutely destroyed by too many cooks in the kitchen. I mean, I looked it up on IMDb, and there's 2 supervising directors, 3 sequence directors, and a directed by credit, all for different people. And it just makes me think that maybe every scene had a different animation team, and so there was a director for that scene, and whoever was in charge of overseeing putting it all together was maybe just some executive that was like, fuck it, it's a kid's Batman movie, who gives a shit?
Yeah, it definitely seemed like a quota thing, like, we need you to do a Halloween special, and they're like, okay, we'll do a Halloween special, let's figure this out. Alex,
Batman's kind of scary. We can use him for Halloween.
Yeah. And Batman versus Dracula is a trope that's been done in the comics before. So, there's a lot of cool stuff to draw from. But Alex, did this film succeed?
I was watching it, and I was similar to John. I was like, why are we watching this? But honestly, the conversation, I had fun. There were some good little bits in it. I think it's one that if you wanted to watch it with your friends and make fun of it, it wouldn't be the worst thing to throw on in the background of a Halloween party.
The reason I didn't choose The Long Halloween is because I thought that was too much of that was trying to be too much of a film, and I thought this one would be wait.
Gotcha.
In my defense, go ahead.
No, that's fair. I was I kept messaging John. I was like, this makes me want to play the Batman games again, which would be better Batman stories, or I'd rather be watching Blade right now. Or even, I was thinking as we talked about this, I was like, if we're going to do childhood Halloween movies, I'd rather watch Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island.
Oh, I would have. I've already reviewed that, so I did think.
Okay, I was like, that's the one for me. That was the one that stuck in my childhood.
Well, I did think of the last second.
Although I don't remember very much of it.
I wish we would have done Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, because that's another one that's really good. It actually takes place in Salem or some shit, right? And they go to Salem, and I think Tim Curry voices a character in that movie, and there's an actual witch in there.
I'll watch anything with Tim Curry in it.
Right. So,
yeah.
So anyways.
The Scooby-Doo Halloween specials, the bigger movies they made, those are always pretty fun. People were doing some clever stuff with the Scooby-Doo game. I wish people had done more clever stuff with the Batman game. Also, like, is it just because of branding that when he and Dracula have, like, at the very end in the sunlight, he's like, "You're Bruce Wayne," and he goes, "I'm the Batman," not "I'm Batman." Like, I was
because
just,
it's a movie
thrown
version.
off.
It's a movie based off the TV show called The Batman.
The Batman, yeah. So they have
Right,
to,
so
it's a
is it-
branding thing, yeah.
Yeah, so he doesn't go around saying "I'm Batman." He goes around saying "I'm the Batman."
It's the Batman. It's really frustrating, actually, because in this show, they refer to this. They refer to Batman as the Batman, and they never refer to the Joker as the Joker. They only call him Joker. It's a pet peeve. It's the smallest thing in the world. But
It's like, I don't mind other people saying, "Oh, that's the Batman," because, like, you know, the game of telephone, everyone's getting confused. But, like, him calling himself the Batman, yeah,
does not roll off the tongue well. Although I was hoping that the thumbnail that the similarity in the name to the new upcoming film would help the algorithm for this live stream. Clearly has not.
Hopefully,
is the new one called The Batman?
It is called The Batman. That's the title. So that's why I was like, people will maybe think I'm talking about The Batman versus Dracula, and they'll be like, "Let me see that."
Yeah, we're comparing a movie that isn't out yet to one of the Dracula movies.
I bet this is going to be better than The Batman. This
yeah?
Yeah. Oh, no, this one is probably
easily
The Batman versus Dracula. It's like I said, I give this 5 bags of popcorn and probably two little fake fangs, 2 little sets of fake fangs.
Nice.
You know, just a couple, you know, so you can go
and a little batarang covered in garlic.
Covered in garlic.
I give it 5 bags and some garlic shrimp.
There you go. Also, I love that before Vicki shows up for dinner, I forgot to mention this earlier, Alfred takes off like a garlic wreath over the door to Wayne Manor. Are they just like, did they just like cover all the windows and doors of Wayne Manor in garlic?
When he gives,
I don't mind that. I like
when
that.
he gives Batman the batarangs with garlic on it, he explicitly says that he's like laced all the doors and windows of the manor with garlic. So yeah, they probably have just like
it was just funny to me seeing like the thing of garlic, like it's like
he just puts it in a plant.
Don't want Vicki to think we're weird.
Huge missed opportunity. Huge missed opportunity. Is this film set during Halloween?
There's no pumpkins or anything.
Yeah, what the? Why not? It's sitting. It's just sitting there.
It's right there.
Right there. I feel like they made this film 10 times better. So, in all seriousness,
they didn't want to be cheap. Is what it is.
Well, you're right. They went all out on this film. But in all seriousness, it's a fun Halloween watch. I think if you're a fan like myself of Batman, it's not The Dark Knight. It's not anything close to that. There's probably a lot of better animated Batman films also. But
yeah, watch Mask of the Phantasm.
Mask of the Phantasm is so good. Oh my god! Now you want to talk about a film, like a film? That's good. This is fun. I had fun with it. I'm glad that you guys were along for the ride. Alex and John, before we sign off, anything else? Any final thoughts? You already said final thoughts. Any postscript thoughts? I love it. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Happy Halloween, everybody. We'll see you for Monday's Film Fan Club show on Monday. We're talking about Dune. I loved it. Bye.